Hi traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session. Happy Tuesday to you. And oh man, look at this cable just getting crushed. I thank God I got out of that thing. I got out of that at 152.71 and it's already dropped like 40 pips this morning. And you can see the euro pounds continue. This is all euro pound, by the way. If you look at the euro pound, that's all this is. This is a complete and utter squeeze in the euro pound. And even though I shorted a little bit here at 76, I'm not going to stick around very long. I mean, I shorted it right, just as we surpassed this 786 retracement right here. I don't want to stay short too long, but I'm assuming this is just a little squeeze. Because you gotta watch this euro dollar. The euro dollar is really closing in on some key resistance. This is where my overnight order was. Basically, I had an overnight order in the euro dollar to short at 112.50 overnight. We've been as high as 112.47, and we might get up there. We might actually surpass it a little bit. All right, so if you want to know why I'm shorting the euro dollar at well, I'm short right now at 26, but you want to know why I'm shorting in these areas, it's because of this. All right, so if you are looking at the euro currently, we probably can make it back up to, and I would say even a little bit further, maybe 112.70. Okay, let's actually I'm going to take this red line here and let me move it. Okay, this is doable. Okay, 112.70. That's doable from where we're currently at 43. I don't think we're going to make it all the way up there. I think we'll stop shy of it in the 50s, but there's some pretty damn good momentum right now. So let me grab the bias chart, and resistance is 112.70. But like I said, I think we'll stop short of that. I think we'll stop in the 50s, okay? But we'll see. I think that, and if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, is that an inverted head and shoulder pattern? If we weren't range bound, I would say maybe, but God, dude, look at this Canadian. Canadian's about ready to rip some socks off right now. I mean, look at this Canadian. It is going to blow through 134, and it is going to stop out a lot of traders. It's about ready to do the dirty. Get ready, folks. You know what the dirty is. The dirty is, oh, I'm sorry, did you short the dollar Canadian? Because I'm going to shove it so far up your ass that you're not going to be able to see straight for the next week. That's about what the, oh, dang it, this is a PG-13, PG webinar, sorry. That's the dirty. That's what the dirty is. If you ever hear me say, oh, it's about ready to do the dirty, it's about ready to squeeze. That's really what it is. Okay, anyway, I'll come back to the Canadian. Let's go back over to the euro dollar. So where's support on the euro? Well, let's imagine you're caught short down here. Let's say you were, I don't know why you would be shorting right into 111, but you were, short and you're still short. Where would you want out? I mean, that's like the question you got to ask yourself. Okay, well, where, if you're short and you're like, oh man, I'd be so happy if it just got back down to here. Okay, see, if it came back down to 112 right now, you'd probably be like, okay, I'm going to cover it just because that's, trend line support. This should be support down here today, 112. 112. 112 is support. If we break through 112, that's going to open up some downside. I'm obviously hoping that's going to happen since I'm short at 26, but I think that should be some interim support for today. Let's talk about the cable. The pound, talk about weak. Oh my, this is a weak one. Weak. I mean, like I said earlier, I got out of it this morning because I saw the euro rallying at 112.30, and I'm like, why isn't the cable going up? Now, I didn't think it was just going to turn south that quickly, but it did. I mean, I got out pretty much in the nick of time. But what you'll notice here is with the cable, the scary thing about the pound, let's go out to the daily chart. This is Andrew from Boston yesterday. Notice how I said from Boston. Andrew from Boston. He had mentioned yesterday that he's like, is this a flag? And I'm like, yeah, it could be. Like the flagpole, the flag itself is pretty close to 50% distance of the flagpole. Um, so I'm like, if it's gonna break down, it's got to do it soon, like today, like now. If it does, then we have a possible flag in play. Obviously, if you break through 145, you're targeting like 135. Um, I know those of you that trade the cable, you're probably going, "That ain't gonna happen, right? That ain't gonna happen." Yeah, the euro dollar wasn't gonna fall from 150 either, or 160. So you can't just assume Brexit. You can't assume that the cable can't fall like that. Brexit, it you never know what can happen with the pound Brexit. If Britain exits the eurozone, what happens with the Brexit? You know, I'm just saying you don't know. You don't know. And one thing that scares me though with the cable, it's weak. I know you can argue with me and you can say, well, Blake, the Bank of England, they're probably going to raise rates too, right? 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 Right. That's what everybody else thinks. So, if you're gonna short the dollar, I mean, you might as well buy the pound because the Bank of England's gonna Brexit. I mean, Bank of England is going to, um, going to really, you know, raise rates following the Fed. Right? 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 That's everybody's argument. That's been everybody's argument the whole way down. So now that we're down here, what's your argument? What's their argument? I own the pound. I own some pound Aussie and I own some pound New Zealand. I don't want to see that. And I just shorted the euro pound. So in essence, I own the pound. I don't want to see it drop. But how about if it does? You know, how about if we break through 152? Because I have this feeling that if we break through 152, it's going to get downright ugly, like quickly. All right. And this line isn't drawn correctly, I don't think, because it actually should be drawn like this, I think, because we're like really sitting on support right now. And we really are. However you want to draw it, I don't know. But all I'm going to say is this support is probably pretty critical. These lows. So that low comes in at, and I'm trying to figure out where the hell we're going to go after this because that's the tricky part. Like, okay, you take this low here to the high, you got 161% extension. Yeah, that comes in at 151.20. That's another. I mean, like I said, I bought the pound yesterday. I bought the pound thinking, okay, we've got a bottom here. It's way oversold. It's got to give us some sort of support. It just hasn't. So anyway, 152. What's the low here? 152.20. If it breaks, I'm gonna have to readjust everything here. This is 152.20. Okay, big support. Let's go to what are we doing next? Let's go take a look at resistance. So let's hope the pound bounces a little bit here. If it does, that trend line comes back into play. Maybe we create a little double bottom here, bounce back up towards like 153 and change. By the time we get up back up here, that resistance right there probably will be dealt with. Right through here. It's 153.20. So I mean, we're in a range, but man, it's not looking good for if you're a cable bull. It's not looking too good. All right, let's go take a look at the Swissy. So the Swissy, I was looking for a move down to 97 cents. Did we just spike down there? We spiked to 97.13. Damn, this because yesterday I drew. If we spike down here, just like the euro, retesting its trend line. The Swissy, we were looking for a 97-cent test. Okay, 38% retracement. So this is still all in play. Okay, so a 38% retracement now takes us to 96.87 or 96.85. So this to me would be a great place to be on the long side of the Swissy right here. If we can get down there. The way the markets are looking right now, it's entirely possible. Okay. Uh, um, 96.85 for the Swissy would be support. That will be support. And then resistance is obviously it's, you know, it's at 98 cents. I mean, there's all sorts of support or resistance, I'm sorry, up there at 98 cents. 98 cents, 98.20. In case the dollar starts ripping higher, bunch of resistance up there. And by the way, the euro is almost up to where I should have just been patient enough to wait to sell it, but we're almost there. We're near our highs. Looks like the euro is going to bust through 112.50. It might actually spike up to that 112.57 or so. For those of you that have been more patient than myself, let it spike up here to about 112.60. That might be a good place to be on the short side. Okay, right here. All right, let's go to the yen. So the yen's been weak. Obviously, equities have been pretty weak. But look, we're right at triangle support. Getting there anyway. We drew this all out the last week. I think we've had this triangle drawn out here for the last week. You know what I've noticed is I've now noticed a lot of other analysts are identifying the same triangle. Okay. I've noticed that yesterday. So, we've been on it for the last, several days, and, this nice tight consolidation pattern. Do keep in mind, we are in a bearish trend. That breakdown made it bearish. These moves have repercussions, just so you know. Like typically you'll have a follow-up move that looks, somewhat similar to that at some point. I don't know if we're going to break down today necessarily, but it's tightening. The consolidation is tightening. So support's going to be about down here at 119.35-ish. Resistance at 120.70. And I would leave it alone. Unless you're, trading the range. 35, 120, 70. It's bearish, but it is a range inside of a bearish trend. Okay, it's a consolidated pattern inside of a very bearish trend. I mean, equities are trying to hold right now, but really the dollar yen is dependent on equities. If the equity markets crater through that support, then Forget about it. Okay, let's go over to the Canadian. So the Canadian, that's scary. Really, really, really scary if you're short. The dollar Canadian, the euro's pushing above 112.50 right now. By the way, see if I was just patient this morning, I would have been getting short right here. And of course, see this shows this is perfect, perfect, and it shows you how human I am. Is that although I knew we were going to get up to 112.50, I still shorted ahead of that. Okay. So, for those of you that, think that I don't make trading mistakes, I do. I sometimes don't have the patience I wish I had. All right. So anyway, um, but man, it's just leaving the cable behind too. And this is really, look at this. I mean, crazy, huh? Okay. Anyway, let's go over to the Canadian. So the Canadian, it's scary. If you're short, you've got to be really worried right now, or at least, concerned that you're going to get, it's going to break out, especially if you're trading in size. It's one thing to be shorting right here and taking a small position, that's one thing. But if you're an institution or you're a bank and you're short Canadian and you're short a few yards of dollar Canadian, you're probably a little concerned right now because frankly, it looks like it's going to break out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the dollar Canadian looks like it's going to go. And it looks like it's going to blow right through 134 and target like 136 really fast. That's just the way it feels to me, gut instinct. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're shorting and if you're just like, well, I'm, a little individual, trader and I'm shorting the dollar Canadian and taking a small position, yeah, you probably don't care a whole lot because you trade, you know, one lot and you're risking $50 or you're, or whatever, of course you don't really care that much, but it's the institutional traders that right now are probably going, holy crap, oh my God, this is where they're sitting at their trade desk right now. Can you feel it? I mean, I can feel it. They're sitting at their trade desk right now. They got beads of sweat like dripping down their foreheads. They're like, I gotta pee, but I can't pee. Give me a Gatorade bottle. I'm gonna pee in that. I can't leave my desk. Oh my God, I'm gonna start chain smoking. That's the type of feeling that anybody who's short the dollar Canadian in size right now is feeling. Can you feel it? I can feel it. I can totally feel it. So anyway, um, Steven says institutional traders are not short the dollar Canadian. I, I would beg to differ. There are always both sides of there are both sides on the market. That's what makes a market, Stephen. There'll be maybe more on the long side than those on the short side, but there are traders on the short side, and there's hedge funds on the short side too, and they are pooping their pants, or maybe peeing their pants, maybe chain smoking too. All right. Anyway, talking the dollar Canadian, let's talk about where it can go from here because that's like like you got to imagine we're going to squeeze. I don't know if we're going to, but if we do, where can we squeeze to? Okay. So this last move down from the high to the low, that little spike down. Remember when we were all buying those little spike downs last week? That takes us up to 134.45. Now 134.45 is the 127% extension of that move. But also if you go over to the weekly or monthly chart, you go from 2002 to 2007 to the uh, uh, the 618. That takes us to 134.63. So if you want to know where I think we could squeeze to, that's it. Daryl, did you tweet me that chart, Daryl? A Daryl, tweeted me a chart this morning, and I knew it was there. I didn't have it up on the screen, but that 618, that's going to be important today. So if we squeeze, I think we can squeeze to 134.50s. Okay, I'm just going to call it in between those numbers. Resistance 133. Well, I'm going to say 134, 134.50. Okay. Damn, euro pound. Euro pound's going to be the bane of my existence. And the dollar Canadian has been and still is bullish. Well, you know what? We had it as a range for the last week. I take that back because we had it as a range for the last week and a half since we broke through here. But man, it's about ready to turn bullish again. Obviously, this look, it had people like me even saying, okay, maybe we're range bound instead of being bullish, maybe we're range bound. That's how good of a job uh, that did. Okay. Oh, okay. There is another Daryl. Hey, Daryl. There's two Daryls here. I didn't know there's two Daryls here. Daryl, thanks for bringing that to my attention. That's Daryl M. Thanks for bringing that to my attention because I knew it was there. I just didn't have it up on my screen, so I appreciate that. Um, uh, let's see here. Um, let's see here. Where are we gonna? Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Gotta do something really quick here in a few minutes. Let's go over to, okay, so there's the Canadian as far as the resistance goes. Let's figure out where support is. I mean, like, if you were short the dollar Canadian right now, like, where would you want out? I mean, like I said, let's say you're short and you're really worried and you're going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm short this thing. Where do you want out? If you're like, oh my God, we got a miraculous drop from resistance. If we come back down here to 133, would you not be like, get me out of some? I would think so. Okay, so 133 should provide support for today. It's not great support, but it should provide some support. All right, guys, when I come back, we'll do the Aussie, the Kiwi, the dollar index. We're going to have to do the Norwegian krona. We're going to have to do the Swedish krona. We're going to have to do the peso that's on fire. We got to do all that. All right, so I'll be back in a few months. We got a lot to do this morning before the durable goods order comes out and the weekly unemployment claims. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. And yeah, crude oil is starting to break lower, just FYI. If you're not watching it, Joe just brought it to my attention, but let's take a look at crude really quick. Getting over there. Taking me forever, but here it is. Yeah, if you're watching crude just kind of, took another leg lower. It's a lot of support down here. You can see all this spike low support, but we're making our way lower. I don't know if I try to fade that, but that's obviously helping the U.S. dollar Canadian hit new highs. Cable, my God, pound won't stop. Dollar Canadian's right off of the highs too. So, all right, let's go over to the Kiwi. All right, so here's the New Zealand dollar. And the New Zealand dollar is holding up really well. I think the Kiwi is holding up really well because obviously there's some Aussie New Zealand cross flows that are hitting the market. So you're seeing, the Aussie New Zealand is propping up the Kiwi dollar, so to speak. I would assume at this point that as long as we hold above this 6240, which we obviously have been testing a lot, the risk is a squeeze higher. But I'm going to give you the buts. You got to watch, like the Canadian. You got to watch the peso. You got to watch the Norwegian krona. You got to watch the South African rand. You got to watch. You just really got to pay attention to a lot of these emerging market currencies. If they continue to get crushed, then the risk, and even if the dollar, and especially if the dollar Canadian starts to rally and rip through 134, you got to watch the Kiwi. The Kiwi could come under pressure too, and same with the Aussie. Obviously they both are a lot the same, but we might have a little inverted head and shoulder pattern here developing. Neckline comes in somewhere. We might be upsloping trend line. I don't know. I might be imagining things as well, but let's figure out. I don't want to delete that. Let's go like this. 38% retracement comes in at 63.20. Okay, that is also a retest of this underside of this trend line that's been broken. Okay, you can see that trend line's right through here. Low, low, multiple lows. Okay, that comes in at 63.20. So resistance 0.6320. It's still bearish, guys. I know it's like it's holding up, but it's still bearish. As long as it's below this yellow trend line, it's still bearish. 62.40, or within a 20 pip perimeter of that is very good support. Okay, it's obviously very strong. If we break through 62.40, we're probably going to start getting prepared for a move towards 60 cents. That would be my initial thoughts. As we wedge here, we break through 62.40 and it's going to go whoop, we'll be out for that 60-cent test. Wow. Crude oil is just getting crushed right now. New lows. New lows. Okay. Where was I? Let's go over to the Aussie. Oops, just flip right past it. Here's the Aussie. Oh, and by the way, I got stopped out of the Aussie Canadian yesterday. I got stopped out of that as the Aussie came under pressure, so took a little bit of a loss in that last night as I was at soccer practice, getting eaten by mosquitoes. Here's the Aussie dollar. Okay, let's go over to a 4-hour chart. Let's remove this. Let's remove that. I don't think we need that right now. Okay. Keep this trend line in play and intact. Matter of fact, let's go over to an hourly really fast. Okay. $70.20. Okay, so 69.40 is support, and then obviously 69. So I'll do 0.69. And by the way, 69 cents in the Aussie dollar is JAA Rod's number in the chat room. He thinks we're going to get some two-way action when it gets to 69. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, Jared. And Greg in the chat room. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I hope they're both listening in, and I hope they are laughing their butts off right now. Anyway, I couldn't help it. They did it. That Jared is listening. He said that's very funny. You know what? I thought it was funny, but you're the one that originally said it. I just thought it was hilarious, and I couldn't help myself. So, all right. Anyway, resistance comes in at seven. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm back. All right. So resistance is at 70. So it is 5 o'clock in the morning here, just so you know. 5 o'clock in the morning. No one's awake but me and you. 70-20 is resistance. 70-20. 70-20. Okay. We've been in a range for a while. In the Aussie, we're just at the lower end of the range, which, obviously we're now threatening to break out of that range. I'm I'm concerned that the Aussie is going to start a whole new leg lower, you know, and I'm really kind of well, I'm very upset at myself that last week I didn't short the 72-cent level as I've been wanting to, and I just frustratingly didn't. But that's okay. Come on, Euro, come down. That's right. All right. Uh, Al wanted me to elaborate, and nope, cannot, no can do, no can do. You're not going to trick, no trickery here. Let's go over to the dollar index. Here's the dollar index, and okay, same thing. It is the same exact chart that we're dealing with as far as the Swissy. It's the same chart that we're dealing with the euro. It's the same all the way around. Any move back down towards 90. Now we're sitting on support, by the way. This is our support yesterday. Is it right at 96, and we're basically at 95.85. I mean, we're basically testing support, but we can come all the way down to 95.50 in the dollar index easily. I'm not saying we're going to. I'm just saying that we can still stay above that broken trend line and get all the way up there. Resistance is key resistance is at 96.60. And we are in range. Let's go take a look at the peso. Here's the peso. I mean, look at this. I mean, seriously? I know you're like thinking, oh, that's a double top, Blake. Is it? Because if the euro dollar slumps back to 112, would that not be enough to send the peso right through this resistance? So this is 1731 is really resistance. And I have to write that down because if we break it, it's going to follow the US dollar Brazilian real. It's going to follow the Turkish lira. It's going to follow the South African rand. And think about how many people are shorting the dollar peso right now. I mean, I know hedge fund managers that are. So there's more than that. 17.31 because they just don't think we can go higher. Because just like hedge fund managers fall in the same trap that you and I do. Oh, it can't go higher than this. This is it. This is the top. Is it? Is it the top? Fundamentally, it doesn't make sense. Right. Fundamentally, stocks shouldn't have gone up for 7 years straight either. Support, any dip down to 17 is going to be bought hand over fist, in my opinion, in the peso. You best hope that we drop down there if you guys trade the peso. All right, let's take a look at the Norwegian krona. Now, we risk a false breakout here, but somebody sent me a chart this morning. Oh, look at the cable. Man, pound's just breaking. unexpectedly cut rates. If the euro turns, and if the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona hits new highs today, I would not get in the way. Some of you might be saying, okay, I'm going to short it here because it's a false breakout. I know you might be doing that. That's fine. Okay, it's fine if you want to do that. But if the euro turns around with any type of meaning, then be very careful. Okay, be really careful if the euro turns around and starts heading back down towards 112, because the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona above 649 will be extremely bullish, because it's already bullish right now. Been bullish, staying bullish, resistance 8 point, was it 49? 49. And you're going to get people trying to reload right here on the Norwegian krona right here at 840, but we can give it a little further than that. Maybe 837. For those of you that are looking to be long, this might not be a bad place to be on the long side. Swedish krona. False breakdown. That looks like it's going to go higher to me. But there's nothing really good to trade off of here. I'm not looking at it going, oh man, I can't wait to get long or short, even though I don't trade it. I'm just thinking for you guys. Obviously if we were dipping down towards here, it'd be a good place to be long, but other than maybe giving us a little false breakdown. Okay. So here's your bias chart. There is the bias chart. It is done. And you guys have that. You have it all filled out. Let's go into your questions.